Calibrate the deep earth seismographs, secure the geothermal pressure valves, and prepare for immediate evacuation of the traditional financial landscape, because a tectonic anomaly of unprecedented magnitude has just violently ruptured the primary fault line. Welcome to the Geological Monitoring Station, seismologists. The catastrophic alert violently flashing across our primary tectonic monitors is designated XRP just hit a critical level. What happens next will shock holders. And if you are currently standing on the fragile crust of the retail market, completely fixated on the minor surface tremors around the $1.45 epicenter, you are fundamentally failing to understand the devastating geological displacement currently building right beneath your boots. For years, the civilian population has been living directly on top of a dormant financial volcano, assuming the regulatory pressure had permanently neutralized the threat. They felt the agonizingly slow rumble of the market, experienced a profound sense of geological boredom, and incorrectly concluded that this specific digital asset would never erupt. But down here in the subterranean observation bunker, our acoustic sensors are screaming a completely different, terrifying reality. We just recorded a massive, undeniable seismic wave. XRP has violently fractured the bedrock, surging past the $1.53 resistance zone and completely displacing Binance Coin to reclaim its position as the fourth largest digital landmass in the entire cryptocurrency ecosystem. This is not a random, uncoordinated settling of dirt. This is a highly calculated institutional tectonic shift. The legacy market makers have been deliberately applying artificial atmospheric pressure to the spot price, manufacturing a suffocating illusion of stability to exhaust the retail sector. They wanted the over-leveraged day traders to succumb to the exhaustion, break their psychological tethers, and surrender their digital property right before the true eruption occurs. But the absolute shocker that just hit the monitors changes everything. On March the 17th, 2026, the United States Securities and Exchange Commission and the Commodity Futures Trading Commission triggered a massive Category 9 earthquake by jointly classifying XRP as a digital commodity. The regulatory containment dome has officially shattered. The magma chamber is breached. Do not let the deceptive calm of the surface deceive you. The entire geological topography of the global financial system just fundamentally shifted, and the eruption is about to violently commence. Let us redirect our deep earth penetrating radar away from the blinding, deceptive sunlight of the public trading exchanges and forensically analyze the invisible, high-density subterranean magma chambers that are currently warping the very fabric of our global financial geology. If you want to survive the greatest transfer of wealth in the modern era and successfully navigate this unprecedented intersection of tectonic volatility and cryptographic technology, you must completely reject the superficial, noisy tremor reports broadcasted by the mainstream financial media. The legacy banking cartels are absolutely desperate to maintain their monopoly on global capital resources, and they are executing a highly classified geothermal extraction operation right under your nose, perfectly shielded by the crushing pressure of the Earth's crust. The corporate financial networks are aggressively pushing a completely recycled narrative, falsely claiming that institutional capital has entirely evacuated the digital asset sector due to rising geopolitical temperatures and shifting macroeconomic tectonic plates. But let me tell you a fundamental, undeniable scientific truth about surviving in this ruthless digital environment. If you rely on reused, copy and pasted topographical maps fed to you by the very entities actively trying to harvest your thermal energy, the algorithmic earthquakes governing this sector will ruthlessly crush your portfolio and permanently bury your future. You must forge a completely original conviction based on hard, undeniable, on-chain geological telemetry. If we bypass the public monitors and audit the highly encrypted data streams emanating from the United States Spot Exchange traded funds, a glaring multi-billion-dollar structural anomaly immediately illuminates the radar. The monolithic financial titans commanding these heavily fortified investment vehicles, sovereign entities like Goldman Sachs, Bitwise, and Canary, have quietly accumulated an absolutely staggering stockpile of over $1.3 billion in physical cryptographic assets. How does a magma plume of that magnitude move over $1 billion of pure, concentrated fiat heat into the digital ecosystem without violently triggering the public exchange alarms and launching the spot price out of the crater? The answer lies in the highly secretive, completely unregulated subterranean fissures known as over-the-counter dark pools. These massive sovereign asset managers are silently hoarding the physical float inside these dark pool caverns, mathematically locking away the circulating supply before the massive macroeconomic eruption officially makes landfall and shatters the public exchanges. The pressure is building. Push the geothermal telemetry scanners to their absolute maximum capacity and focus directly on the core cryptographic reactor powering this entire decentralized tectonic system, because the engineering genius of this enterprise engine is exactly what the legacy institutions are actively weaponizing to secure their future existence against the incoming eruption. The civilian traders completely misunderstand the fundamental particle physics of this ecosystem. They mistakenly believe that the financial valuation of this network is solely dependent on amateur day traders buying and selling physical tokens based on erratic emotional sentiment and fleeting social media tremors. They have completely failed to anticipate the explosive parabolic scaling of Ripple's enterprise stablecoin infrastructure, which is currently acting as a massive, unstoppable kinetic burn mechanism, deeply embedded within the network's subterranean architecture. In the span of just a few short months, the RLUSD network capitalization has violently expanded past the $1.5 billion threshold, pushing the XRP ledger to over 7.7 million active wallets. We are no longer tracking the erratic, unpredictable behavior of retail speculators. We are tracking Fortune 500 corporate treasuries and massive legacy banking syndicates aggressively hardwiring their cross-border liquidity operations directly into the Ripple framework to escape the archaic, expensive, and devastatingly slow friction of the dying global banking system. But here is the ultimate tactical secret that the institutions are desperately trying to conceal from the public eye. The XRP ledger functions as a frictionless, high-velocity digital fault line, and RLUSD is merely the heavily armored commercial energy packet traveling directly through its core. In order to successfully authenticate, validate, and execute these massive corporate stablecoin transfers across international banking corridors, the base protocol irrevocably mandates the permanent combustion of XRP as cryptographic fuel. The stablecoin does not replace, usurp, or compete with the native asset. It acts as a massive industrial-grade accelerant for its underlying, mathematically programmed evaporation rate. Every single time a multinational corporation executes a multi-million-dollar cross-border settlement utilizing RLUSD, a fractional percentage of the native token is automatically incinerated by the network code, permanently erasing it from the historical circulating supply. This is equivalent to a volcano mechanically consuming its own mass to generate infinite kinetic energy. The network is systematically evaporating the native supply, while Wall Street desperately attempts to hoard the remaining physical float inside their encrypted dark matter vaults. This is the exact cryptographic formula for an unprecedented, violent supply shock that perfectly aligns with the master geological blueprint. Expand the intercontinental reconnaissance grid to encompass the entire global macroeconomic theater, because the momentum triggering this massive infrastructural tectonic shift originates on a highly synchronized international scale that completely dwarfs the localized fault lines happening within the domestic borders of the United States. A master seismologist understands that the total domination of a new financial infrastructure requires the complete, systemic alignment of the old world sovereign continental plates, and the phenomenon actively unfolding right now accounts for this exact universal convergence to maintain absolute global stability. While the domestic civilian sector is completely mesmerized by the minor political tremors in Washington, D.C., and the temporary agonizing price suppression on their mobile trading applications, our international observatories have intercepted critical paradigm-shifting frequencies from the highest echelons of European and Asian financial syndicates. Weeks ago, we empirically confirmed the highly classified infiltration of Ripple Prime into the National Securities Clearing Corporation directory under the undisputed center of gravity of Wall Street, the Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. That precise geological maneuver effectively hardwired the decentralized ledger directly into the absolute beating heart of the American traditional equity settlement citadel, ensuring that the legacy fiat system is fundamentally tethered to the XRP ecosystem. But the new, incredibly urgent intelligence that confirms the massive, impending super eruption is an unprecedented European and Asian convergence designed to integrate directly with this new digital standard. We have verified that Société Générale, the titanic French financial institution commanding nearly $2 trillion in global assets, has officially activated its MiCA-compliant euro stablecoin directly on the Ripple infrastructure. Concurrently, the Japanese banking leviathan SBI Holdings has successfully deployed a massive blockchain-based corporate bond specifically designed to reward traditional retail investors with physical XRP. When trillion-dollar sovereign banking entities voluntarily integrate a decentralized cryptographic ledger into their core operational machinery to settle corporate bonds and stablecoin transfers, it mathematically guarantees a tidal wave of future utility volume that will absolutely overwhelm the current algorithmic suppression The sudden, violent jumps in trading activity you see are the market algorithms desperately attempting to price in this massive international friction before the retail sector realizes the global perimeter has already been fully breached. The legacy fiat architecture is actively crumbling under its own inflationary debt spirals, the central banks are injecting massive waves of fresh liquidity, and the digital replacement is fully operational. The global continental drift is completely locked into place. Download the final volcanic evacuation parameters directly into your personal navigation matrix immediately, because identifying the sovereign manipulation and deeply analyzing the massive structural reality revealed by this geological anomaly is absolutely useless if you are permanently trapped within the blast zone when the extreme volatility finally strikes. We have empirically proven the covert dark pool accumulation by the billion-dollar exchange-traded funds, the exponential utility growth of the RLUSD kinetic engine, the massive DTCC systemic integration, the official commodity classification, and the colossal international banking deployments successfully executed out of Europe and Japan. So, what is the ultimate mathematical destination of this digital asset when the global liquidity cycle officially peaks, the universal continental alignment is finalized, and the algorithmic containment dome is permanently shattered? Highly classified macroeconomic risk assessments, continuously refined by elite quantitative seismologists at Tier 1 institutions like Standard Chartered Bank, have established a mathematically grounded baseline target of $8 per token for the conclusion of this specific tectonic cycle. To the uninitiated civilian observer, currently psychologically traumatized by months of agonizing artificial suppression, an $8 projection sounds like impossible, utopian science fiction designed merely to generate false hope and trap retail liquidity in the eye of the volcano. But to the elite forecaster who understands the absolute mathematical certainty of a violently constricting physical supply curve colliding head-on with exponential institutional utility bandwidth, an $8 valuation is merely a conservative waypoint on the journey to total structural dominance. However, you cannot successfully navigate this high-stakes digital wealth transition without a ruthlessly disciplined, completely emotionless framework. Human greed, impatience, and panic are the ultimate fatal vulnerabilities when attempting to survive the collapse of a dying financial climate. I strictly mandate the immediate implementation of an automated execution strategy known as the Thirds Protocol. When the network price violently shatters the historical all-time high resistance parameter of $3.84, you must automatically execute a tactical payload release and sell exactly 33% of your holdings. This unemotional maneuver secures a complete, absolute recovery of your initial fiat capital deployment, instantly transforming the remainder of your digital portfolio into pure, stress-free profit. The secondary operational tranche is programmed to ride the algorithmic magma wave toward the $8 institutional target zone, serving as your ultimate liberation vehicle. The final tertiary portion must be securely encrypted and locked in your deepest cold storage vault. Secure your keys, trust the mathematical trajectory over the television pundits, and execute your survival strategy flawlessly. The countdown is complete. The eruption begins right now.